Welcome back, everybody. Mr. Balker here again for Career Explorations. We're starting a new unit now, and what that unit is Unit 3, Lesson 1. Specifically, what is it talking about? It's talking about manufacturing and marketing. What's manufacturing? It's building stuff. Generally speaking, manufacturing is in factories or small workshops where people build individual things. If you like to work with your hands, if you enjoy the satisfaction of completing something and having it to hold and say, look, I made this, manufacturing is a great career. In addition, manufacturing also involves the process of getting those products to someone so that you can sell them, okay? So, Tulsa actually has a fair amount of manufacturing. You guys may not be aware of this. One that you probably do know is the bus plant, right? We have a very large school bus plant in Tulsa, and it employs a fair number of people. In addition to that, though, we have a lot of other plants. There's a glass plant, there's a plastic sack plant, there's a number of different opportunities out there in manufacturing. Now, what to know about manufacturing? You're probably not going to become a millionaire unless you end up developing something that is new and you own the business. If you're working in a factory line, generally doesn't make millions of dollars, but it is good work. It's straightforward. If, again, you like to work with your hands, this can be something really rewarding to a person. I personally love working with my hands and building stuff myself. I make things out of leather, I build things out of wood, I have a 3D printer at my house that I like to prototype things with, and then I will combine that with my other skills and kind of build something that helps me in my day-to-day life, or just because I think it's cool. Those things are fun to me. Again, this is one of the things we really want to talk about in this class is, look, money isn't the only thing about a career. If you hate it, it doesn't matter that it pays a lot of money. For a while, anyway. You want to do things that are going to give a person some satisfaction. And manufacturing is one of those things that for many people can be. And in some people, you hate it, right? You can't sit there and put this thing together one more time. So, their comments. Do you like to make things with your hands or see a finished product? Yes, I do. Do you enjoy machines and fixing things? Yes, I do. You might like manufacturing. I probably would. And it's not just working in a factory. People working in manufacturing make all kinds of stuff. Cell phones, desks, chairs, the device I'm using to record the video, all of those things come out of manufacturing. So it's an important possibility. I like this little chart that they've got right here that kind of describes the manufacturing process. Step 1, somebody designs the thing. That is not manufacturing. Then somebody builds the thing. That can be manufacturing. The assembly line, quality control, packing it, delivery, the service of it, the tech support calls for it, and the factory itself. All of those are the parts that go into this. Design generally is something that's done by engineering, however, and I know that we get to that later. So, if you work in manufacturing, you might make some decisions, however, in the design process about what material to use, because being somebody who's on the factory floor and is actually putting it together, you're going to have a different perspective and a different level of knowledge about what is required to make this thing work. So, something to think about. Here in their little blue box, which is the things that I always recommend you focus on, Henry Ford put the first assembly lines into use. Before, goods were made start to finish by individual workers. Assembly lines assign a single task per worker and move the goods from worker to worker to make production faster and cheaper. Here's the deal. The assembly line is still used a lot in American and international manufacturing. However, one thing has changed a lot. So a long time ago, like 6 years, I went and toured a very nice factory in South Carolina. In this factory, they build very high-end cars. So, how does it work? Well, it's a beautiful process. First of all, it is so clean in that factory that you could eat off the floors. You probably shouldn't, but you get my point. It is super clean. And they have these really advanced machines and robots that perform some of the tasks, but they have to have human intervention. They have to have people that take the parts, move them from spot to spot, line it up, make sure that it goes in there. Because people have a tendency to get bored working in one particular spot, they actually only work like 1 hour shifts in that spot. And they rotate, they go to the next spot. Why? Well, if you've been putting doors on all day, you're pretty tired of putting doors on, and you end up starting to make mistakes. So instead, they train you for like 5 or 6 different things around the factory. And so you'll start putting doors on, and then you'll leave. And then maybe you'll go over here and you'll put steering wheel covers on. And then maybe over here you'll end up putting wheel caps on. And maybe over here you'll go put on headrests. And by mixing it up a little bit, you encounter different things that keep your brain working so that you don't feel like, my God, I've been putting doors on for 7 hours. That's the way that a good factory would work, okay? And there's plenty of examples. A lot of factories now do that. A lot of this is done with the assistance of machinery. So that's another thing I want to comment on. Back in the day, working in a factory, you ended up, he was a big, giant, tough guy, and occasionally women, but you're generally pretty built because you're lifting up heavy things. This factory that I was at was so cool. They had a machine that supported your tool, right? Like whatever it was going to be, whether you're drilling holes or you're using a power wrench, and it was suspended by a little cable, and you could just move it like this. I mean, it was easy, just one-handed, okay, go over here, click, click, click. It was so cool, and so that took a lot of fatigue off of the people so that your shoulders and elbows and everything else just don't get wrecked, right? Because you're not really physically demanding stuff. There's a bit, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. And this allows a person who gets into that career to do it for a lot longer period of time. So again, that factory was a lot of fun for me. I really enjoyed kind of going through how they do things and what they do. If you get the opportunity to go tour a factory or something, why not? One of the coolest factories I ever toured in my entire life, something you'd never guess about. It was the Tillamook Cheese Factory, all the way on the West Coast, okay? Tillamook cheese is probably pretty well known. You may have had some in your life, but the process for making cheese, that's a factory, guys. They take the raw material, milk, they put it in these vats, they treat it with specific chemicals that turn it into cheese, they press it into form, they package it, cut it. All of that stuff is all done in a factory. And again, if you're somebody who enjoys that process and likes cheese in general, it was a very cool place. I enjoyed it a lot. So that's manufacturing. Now, outside of manufacturing proper, you do have some other things too. And these are support careers for the manufacturing process. They specifically mention health inspector, machine inspector, and a safety specialist. Why are these important? We talked about regulation in the last unit a little bit. Regulation is important because it makes sure that people stay safe. Okay? If you don't have machinery inspectors and health inspectors and safety specialists, what can happen is things can go very wrong, a part can break, nobody knows about it, and you introduce dangerous pieces. Okay? Long time ago, I bought it was the Ho-Hos or Ding Dongs or something like that, right? Some Hostess snack cake. And this is back in the 80s, and I don't think they have the same test they do now. But in my package of them, there was a washer in one of the the little snacks. And so now what they do is they actually run everything through a metal detector or an x-ray machine to make sure that, hey, if there's any debris, if something did come off the machine, we're going to catch it. Machinery inspectors make sure that if the machines are having any issues, if they're not sanitary, if they're breaking down, that we fix them, that we make sure that nothing bad falls into the pancake mix or whatever it happens to be. Okay? Health inspectors do a similar thing in restaurants, bars, cafes, whatever. What they're trying to do is make sure that everything is kept to this really high standard so that people don't contract illnesses, right? And it still gets through, even with all these people doing this. Every year, many times a year, we get outbreaks of E. coli, of salmonella. Every now and again, you'll get botulism, but those two are the big ones. And what happens is somebody didn't monitor the food, something spoiled, and when you have one little tiny bit of lettuce that maybe has E. coli on it, and that then spreads to 10 million heads of lettuce because it's in the factory, right, and everything gets intermixed, that's a mess. And so it saves a lot of money to have good safety specialists, machinery inspectors, and of course health inspectors. Those are all cool jobs if you like being in the factory but don't want to build stuff. So other things that they've got. Inventory and logistics. Logistics is a cool word. I want to talk about it for a little bit, okay? What logistics is is it's the movement and the transportation of something from point A to point B. Well, that sounds pretty simple. No, it's not. Think about this. The Amazon trucks are a great example of logistics. So UPS has been around for many, many, many years, right? And just a little while ago, UPS was kind of the way that all of our stuff got to us. Of course, about 4 years ago, Amazon didn't really want to pay UPS anymore. Amazon wanted to save money and have their own logistics network. So they did. They bought all these vans. They bought all these warehouses. And now, Amazon actually distributes their products themselves much of the time. So how do you do that? Well, you need all of these people, okay? Logistics managers, inventory managers, warehouse workers, packaging workers. What do they do? Okay, well, see, the logistics manager, what he does is he runs the whole team, basically. He makes sure that we know what we have and where it needs to go. If you made 10,000 shoes and you had to get those shoes out to the proper places, you're obviously going to have trucks to do it, guys to load the trucks, people to receive the goods at the right place at the right time. If you send your truck full of brand new Nikes to the mall at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's not going to go well. You need to do that at a time that they're expecting you and make sure it gets there. Another example of that, again, the factory that I toured in South Carolina that made very high-end cars. We've got to get those cars from where they're at to the people that want them quickly. I mean, think about it. If you've got a $100,000 car and it's just sitting there on the ground, and you've got a guy that wants to buy it, right? But it's in South Carolina, and the dude who wants to buy it's in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you got to make sure it gets to him, right? Because you don't get that money until that guy gets his super fancy car. So having people who can manage logistics, make sure that you've got enough stuff going where it needs to go is important. Back to that car example, if we just send that car by itself on a big giant semi-truck, well, that's not cost effective, right? It would cost you $6,000 or $7,000 to get that car from point A to point B. But what if you put that car with 7 other cars, right? Maybe there's one that needs to go here. Maybe there's one that needs to go in Arkansas. Maybe there's one that needs to go to Oklahoma City. Maybe there's one that needs to go in Kansas City, right? And so you have that same truck driver carry 2 cars each of those places. Well, that cuts down our cost a lot. That is logistics. Figuring out the most cost-effective, safe way to get a thing from one spot to another spot. It's a good job. And it doesn't pay badly either. The guys that do that can do well. Other things that are listed here is inventory manager, warehouse worker, packaging worker. Those are pretty self-explanatory. You get what those are. Again, that's all part of the manufacturing process. Once we have the thing, we got to send it out to somebody, but we have to package it first. We can't just, okay, here you go, here's the thing. Just hand it to them with a sticker on it. No, you got to protect it, otherwise it's going to get destroyed in transport. They talk here about what things you're going to need as far as skills and such for inventory and logistics. They say graduate of high school is the minimum. That's true. You will make a little bit more with a college degree because, again, that demonstrates your ability to stick with it and complete something difficult. Physical strength, you don't need that much physical strength these days, but you do need some. Special certifications. If you're working in the warehouse and you're going to move these giant pallets of stuff, you're going to need to have a certification to do that. It's not easy to drive a forklift properly. So there's training classes that go through, and think about it. If you don't do it well, what can happen? Can you knock over millions and millions of dollars worth of product? Oh yeah. Who pays for that? Well, ultimately, you'll probably end up paying with your job because they're not going to keep you around if you keep wrecking forklift pallets full of stuff. They want to make sure that you know what you're doing. Organizational skills, that's the big one, especially in logistics, okay? If you're disorganized and you can't find your pencil ever, how could you possibly monitor a warehouse full of stuff? It's going to be a challenge for you. Okay, the next part, maintenance, installation, and repair. It's interesting to me that they broke these up here in manufacturing. These are definitely jobs that require the use of your hands. Okay, people who do stuff. They show a guy right here putting together an outside unit for an air conditioner. Okay, what this guy is working on is making sure that it has the proper level of coolant in it, making sure that everything's hooked up properly, making sure it doesn't have any big leaks. That way the house can stay nice and cool. That is a very specialty job. That is a job that can pay very, very well. I think I told you a while ago that I had a friend who got into the whole HVAC thing and became a journeyman, and he has a great job now. I mean, he's making, I want to say 30 to 40 bucks an hour working for somebody else. If he owned his own business, it'd be even more, but that's a little scary. So, what are the things that they talk about? Well, these are the different careers that they list. Maintenance person, a locksmith, small engine repair, sheet metal worker, an industrial mechanic, an electrical engineer, and an information technology specialist. Now I'll tell you, those things are all over the place, but what they do have in common is these are jobs that you can get special training for. Most of those jobs, you can either learn it on the job, or you can attend a career-specific training, right? Something like Tulsa Technology Center or Oklahoma Technology Center, right? There are places that specifically teach job skills, how to do a certain thing. And for those of you that do like to work with your hands, these are very good careers that are not going anywhere. We are gonna need to keep fixing stuff. If you think we're not gonna take care of our air conditioning systems for the next forever, you're crazy. They're gonna keep breaking, we're gonna keep fixing them, we need people to do that. These are also careers that you're seeing a lot of people retiring from, so there's gonna be a lot of openings. So, again, stuff that you like to work with your hands, some of these are really good options. Okay, that is lesson 1. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll get lesson 2 done here shortly for you. Thanks so much.